All the tanking paid off for the Wizards and Jazz that get top amazing picks, but the Pacers screwed so bad could set them back years, but no one to blame but themselves. They took a big gamble and it failed. The GM felt he had to make an apology post to the fans. What? But that means the Clippers have a mega talent on the way. But so many crazy things happen in this lottery, like Anthony Davis a magic trick. The 2019 Pelicans trade away AD, get number 1. 2025 Mavs trade away AD, get number 1. Now the Wizards get Davis and number 1. Oh, that's a coincidence. That's what they want you to think. But let's go pick by pick to talk winners, losers, and teams whose offseason just got interesting. So, if you don't know, this is the deepest draft class the NBA has had since the LeBron Wade Melo Bosch 03 class that every other draft gets compared to. No, there's no LeBron at the top, but there are 4 legit number 1 guys. AJ Dybantsa, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, Caleb Wilson. Anyone could anchor your franchise, but the talent keeps coming, which means the Pacers messed up. Can you believe this is what they traded for Evita Zubos? Pacers got Zoo and Kobe Brown. Clips got the number 5 pick, a 2029 first unprotected, 2028 second, and Benedict Math. I like Zoo, but my goodness, what a mistake. Let's start though with the bottom and teams that failed to jump up. Like the Warriors had a 9% chance to go top 4, but stayed at 11. In fact, a report just before the lottery said if they got lucky, Golden State was going to move that pick for a player like Giannis. Now that's off the table. But NBA playoffs rolling on. So much fun playing prize picks every single night. Win or lose, the cash is just a bonus if I can win, but I'm guaranteed to have like 10 times more fun every night if I have some picks in. I love how easy the app is to use. All you got to do, pick more or less on a few player stats and you're set. So, my 2 picks for tonight. Couple of picks for Monday's game combo plays. Lou Dort and Austin Reeves were going to go lower on their threes. James Harden and Duncan Robinson lower on their threes. And best of luck if you're tailing those picks. Prize picks available in all these states. No better time to sign up with this second round coming up. And nothing helps out the channel more than using code AMHOOPS when you sign up. Use code AMHOOPS. If you play just $5, you'll get $50 in lineups instantly, win or lose. People were also terrified that the Thunder would move top 4 with just a 7% chance to get lucky, but they stay at 12. Still adding a lottery pick to this deep team. Terrifying. Are you watching what they are doing to the Lakers right now? OKC brings randos off the bench who play like all-stars. Could get another one. But to round out that bottom 10 before we get into luck, the Hornets at 14, Heat 13, and Bucks at 10. Good picks, but not a sure thing. So, the first big surprise was the Kings. They fall 2 spots from top 5 to 7. I feel so bad for Kings fans. On March 5th, just 38 days before the finish line, they were tied for the number 1 pick. Feeling good. Then all of a sudden, for no reason, they start winning games. Boom. Beat Chicago, then Indiana, the Jazz. All teams were trying to tank. Why? Cause coach Doug Christie unleashed DeMar DeRozan at the exact wrong time in that stretch. Man dropping 30 points a game on 61% shooting. I mean, the Wizards out here letting Bam score 83, Jazz getting fined for sitting their best players, but Sacramento playing to Rose in 37 minutes of the night like it's 2016. I hate to say it, what did you think was going to happen? This was Kings fans' worst nightmare and it just came true. But the next big surprise was the Nets team falls out of the top 4 to number 6, which hurts even more considering what they paid to get there. Brooklyn wanted to control their rebuild so bad that they traded control of 4 first-round picks to get their 2025 and 26 selections back. But the result, they now moved down a combined 5 spots in both drafts. Brutal. In fact, remember they drafted 5 players last year. Don't look like any of them's going to be a future star. But now, let's dig into the Clips at 5. Just a few months ago, one of the most screwed teams in the NBA after 2 terrible mistakes, trading for Paul George and James Harden. Not only is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out here leading a potential dynasty thanks to that PG trade, but the Clips had like 0 picks going for it in an old roster. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they make big moves at the deadline. In the same week, they trade James Harden and Zubos for a rebuild haul. In total, they got Darius Garland, Benedict Mathan, role players, the number 5 pick, another 2029 first unprotected in 2 seconds for Harden and Zoo. In fact, they had a deal on the table to trade away Kawhi to Golden State that fell through at the last minute. So, we're all waiting on the aspiration punishment, but the Clips are a big winner, which means the loser is Indiana, a finals team 1 year ago. Then, their best player Tyrese Halliburton tears his Achilles. So, they go into full rebuild mode. I'm talking tanked harder than anyone not named Washington. 19 wins is hard to do and painful. Now, they have 0 picks to show for it. The deal they made was a top 4 protected pick for Zoo, which becomes a 2031 pick if not conveyed. Well, it did convey, and now there is a ton of pressure on Zoo to play like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Good luck, buddy. Now, I want to get into like a mock draft for some of these teams, but the luckiest team in the league was the Bulls. They jumped 5 spots into that top 4 after half a season of tanking. That is amazing. You feel good for their fans. So they go from the 9th pick to 4 for most likely Caleb Wilson, a 610 big from North Carolina. Kid is the most athletic player in the class, will fit great next to Josh Giddey and Mattis Bzelis. In fact, he's exactly what they need in their front court. His one weakness is shooting jumpers, but maybe that comes along. And Wilson is the last player here that people think have superstar upside as a prospect. At number 3, the Grizzlies also get lucky by moving up 3 spots from 6 to 3. Remember, they went into rebuild mode by trading 2 of their 3 cornerstone guys, Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. Now they can add Cam Boozer, a 69 forward from Duke, who is College Player of the Year because man is the most polished NBA-ready player in this class. He not only shot 40% from 3 on high volume, but has got the skill to run the offense as a point forward. Now, some people do doubt his star upside cause he plays below the rim, but he's the son of 2-time All-Star Carlos Boozer, and NBA kids have a great track record in the league recently. Now, their biggest concern trading Giant. How are they going to deal Jaw to really turn the page and still get decent value for him in a trade? But maybe now they take less value for Jaw because they've got in place a great new young core. And at 2, the Jazz move up 2 spots in the final year of their rebuild. They've got vets like Triple J and Larry Markinman to add with Darren Peterson, a 66 guard from Kansas. Now Darren dominant offensively, but the most controversial player in the class. He has both character and medical concerns. Now, both of those may end up being nothing, but remember, he was in and out of the lineup at Kansas, which bothered a lot of people, and had full body cramps that sent him to the hospital multiple times. Darren now says, "Oh, the reason was I was taking too much creatine. No big deal. But we'll see." So, will the Jazz then send a boatload of assets to DC to move up to number 1? Because that pick is AJ Dybantsa, who went to BYU in their backyard. Jazz owner Ryan Smith went to BYU and loves the school. It would be like getting the hometown superstar. If not, the Wizards take AJ, a 69 forward from BYU. Kid led college in scoring and has emerged as the number 1 pick in a deep class. AJ's got a complete skill set scoring at the rim, cooks the mid-range with elite defense. A big plus will be playing alongside vets to take the pressure off this first year, right? It's like the opposite of Cooper Flagg. Remember DC traded for Trae Young and Anthony Davis to add with young players Alex R., Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson, and Bil Coulibaly. So this is the final mock draft. ESPN's got a great one, too. The final lottery in the tank era. Remember, this class was so great. Teams tank so hard they're going to change the rules. And it paid off for everyone except Indiana. But the off-season is going to be huge also for trades. We might get a big one in Boston because the Jaylen Brown situation is completely out of control. The craziest part about this lottery is that it completely changed the direction of the NBA in one night. Teams that looked dead 6 months ago suddenly have hope again, and franchises that thought they were building towards something just realized they may have accidentally destroyed their future. That is what makes this draft so dangerous. It is not just deep. It is the kind of class where missing on one move can haunt a franchise for the next decade. Every GM knows it. Every fan base feels it. And now the pressure starts. Because once the lottery balls stop bouncing, the real chaos begins. Trades. Panic. Teams trying to move up. Veterans suddenly available. Front offices lying through their teeth about who they want. And agents already playing the media game trying to steer prospects to certain destinations. Every year this happens, but this year feels different because the talent gap between the top guys and the middle of the draft is smaller than usual. Normally there is a clear superstar at number 1 and then everybody else. This year there are arguments everywhere. Some scouts think AJ Dybantsa is the safest pick. Others think Darren Peterson has the highest ceiling if the health concerns are overblown. Some executives quietly believe Cameron Boozer will have the best career because he already understands how to play winning basketball. And then there are people around the league who swear Caleb Wilson is going to shock everyone and become the best player from the class because of his athleticism and defensive upside. That uncertainty is why teams are going to get desperate. The Wizards especially now hold all the power. They are sitting there with the number 1 pick, Anthony Davis, Trae Young, young wings, and suddenly a chance to become relevant again after years of embarrassment. Think about how insane that sentence would have sounded 2 seasons ago. Washington was supposed to be hopeless. They were the team everybody forgot about. Nobody watched them. Nobody feared them. They were stuck in basketball purgatory where you are not good enough to compete but not bad enough to land superstars. Then they fully committed to the tank, took the pain, got clowned nightly for losing games by 30 points, and now they are potentially 1 pick away from changing everything. And if they do draft AJ Dybantsa, the fit is terrifying. People see the scoring and think that is the whole story, but scouts are obsessed with his defense. At BYU he guarded everybody. Wings. Guards. Power forwards. His motor is ridiculous. The dude plays like somebody insulted him personally before every game. Now imagine that mentality next to Anthony Davis protecting the rim behind him. Suddenly Washington could become one of those long, athletic nightmare teams that make life miserable every night. But the question nobody can stop asking is whether the Jazz are going to make the biggest offer of the decade to move up 1 spot. Because Utah has been preparing for this moment forever. Danny Ainge has spent years hoarding picks like a dragon sitting on gold. Every time people made fun of Utah for rebuilding too slowly, he kept stacking assets. Every trade, every pick swap, every protected first-rounder was leading to this exact situation. And now the hometown superstar from BYU is sitting there at number 1. Ryan Smith wants him. The fans want him. The state wants him. There are already people in Utah talking about AJ like he is the savior of basketball in Salt Lake City before he has even been drafted. So what happens if Utah offers 4 first-round picks? 5? Walker Kessler? Keontae George? At some point Washington has to think about it. That is why this offseason could get insane. And while the top teams celebrate, there are franchises staring into the abyss right now. Sacramento is one of them. Kings fans are sick. They had the perfect tank setup. Everything was aligned. And then somehow they accidentally remembered how to play basketball at the worst possible moment. It is the most Kings thing ever. Other tanking teams were resting stars, shutting players down, inventing fake injuries, and Sacramento is out there giving DeMar DeRozan playoff minutes in meaningless March games. Now instead of talking about franchise-changing talent, they are sitting at 7 praying someone falls. And that matters because the difference between picking 4th and 7th in this draft is massive. At 4 you are getting a player teams believe can become the face of your franchise. At 7 you are entering the danger zone where prospects start having bigger flaws. Maybe the shooting is inconsistent. Maybe the athleticism is questionable. Maybe they are raw projects who need years of development. There are still good players there, but the margin for error gets way smaller. The Nets are another disaster story. Brooklyn basically detonated their future to regain control of their own draft destiny, and it still did not work. That is brutal. They spent years trying to recover from the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving era, finally decided to bottom out properly, and now they are sitting outside the elite tier again. The scary thing for Nets fans is that they still do not have a clear superstar path. Their young core has nice players, but nice does not win championships in this league. You need somebody terrifying. Somebody who changes defensive schemes by himself. Brooklyn still does not have that guy. Meanwhile Oklahoma City somehow keeps winning every possible scenario. It is unbelievable. They already have an MVP-level core. They already have depth for days. Their bench players look like future starters. And now they still add another lottery pick. The rich just keep getting richer. Watching OKC right now feels like watching the beginning of the Warriors dynasty all over again where everybody knows what is coming but nobody can stop it. What makes the Thunder so scary is not even just the talent. It is the infrastructure. Every player who goes there gets better. Random role players suddenly shoot 40% from 3. Young defenders turn into monsters. Guys nobody believed in become valuable rotation pieces. That is championship culture. They have built an environment where development actually happens instead of prospects disappearing into chaos. Compare that to teams like Charlotte. The Hornets keep collecting talent but still feel directionless. Every year there is another lottery pick, another promising young core, another reset. At some point you have to actually win games. Their fans are exhausted hearing about potential. They want results. And this draft might determine whether the franchise finally stabilizes or continues wandering in circles. The Bulls, though, might have accidentally pulled off the smartest fake rebuild in basketball. They never fully tanked. Never fully committed. Everybody criticized them for being stuck in mediocrity. Then boom. Lottery luck changes everything. Suddenly they are in position to draft Caleb Wilson and now the entire timeline changes. That is why the lottery is cruel. Teams can spend years strategically rebuilding and get punished, while another team jumps up after half a season of losing. And honestly, Caleb Wilson in Chicago could be special. Josh Giddey loves throwing hit-ahead passes. Buzelis thrives in transition. Caleb Wilson runs the floor like a gazelle. That front court could become one of the most entertaining young groups in the NBA. If Wilson develops even an average jumper, the Bulls suddenly become terrifying defensively because of their size and athleticism. Long-term they may finally have an identity again. But there is another team nobody is talking enough about. The Houston Rockets. Because if this draft goes the way many executives expect, Houston is perfectly positioned to trade for a superstar. They already accelerated ahead of schedule. Amen Thompson looks incredible. Sengun is becoming an offensive hub. Jabari Smith finally started showing consistency. Reed Shepherd can shoot the lights out. They have young assets everywhere. And now with teams like Boston potentially entering difficult financial situations, Houston could become the ultimate predator. Especially if the Jaylen Brown rumors are real. Now look, every offseason there are fake superstar rumors. Most are nonsense. But Boston's situation is complicated. The new CBA punishes expensive teams harder than ever before. Keeping two max superstars plus elite role players becomes nearly impossible long-term. If the Celtics fall short again, the pressure is going to become unbearable. Suddenly every loss gets analyzed differently. Every Jaylen Brown turnover becomes a national debate. Every Tatum disappearance becomes a headline. And there are already executives around the league quietly preparing for the possibility that Boston eventually has to choose flexibility over keeping everybody together. If that happens, Houston has the assets to make a monster offer. San Antonio does too. And imagine if the Spurs somehow land another superstar next to Victor Wembanyama. The league would panic immediately. Wemby already looks unfair. Adding another elite creator beside him could start another dynasty before the current generation even ages out. That is why this offseason feels like the beginning of a massive power shift. The old era is slowly dying. LeBron is near the end. Steph is aging. Kevin Durant's window is closing. Kawhi barely stays healthy. Even Giannis rumors continue floating around because Milwaukee cannot seem to build a sustainable contender around him anymore. The new generation is taking over now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Anthony Edwards. Victor Wembanyama. Luka Doncic. Paolo Banchero. Tyrese Maxey. Cooper Flagg. AJ Dybantsa potentially joining them soon. The league is transitioning right in front of us. And some franchises are adapting better than others. The Lakers are one of the most fascinating cases because they are caught between eras. They still operate like a superstar destination, but the league has changed. Young stars care more about stability now. Development matters. Infrastructure matters. Front offices matter. You cannot just assume stars will save you forever because you are the Lakers. That is why getting destroyed by OKC feels symbolic. The Thunder represent the future of team building while the Lakers still rely heavily on star power and reputation. Golden State is dealing with the same reality. Missing on the lottery hurt because that pick could have been the final piece in a Giannis trade package. Now what? Steph Curry is still incredible, but the clock is ticking loudly. Every season without another deep playoff run becomes painful because everybody knows there are not many left. And honestly, the Giannis situation could become the earthquake that changes the whole league. If Milwaukee flames out again, every front office in basketball is calling immediately. The Thunder have picks. The Rockets have picks. The Spurs have picks. Even teams like Brooklyn might throw ridiculous offers on the table out of desperation. Giannis becoming available would freeze the entire NBA market because everybody would wait to see where the domino lands. But back to the draft because there are some sleeper prospects people are sleeping on badly. One executive compared Malik Presley to a young Jimmy Butler because of his physicality and mentality. Another scout thinks Luka Ristic might become the best shooter in the class despite not being projected top 10. There is also serious buzz around international prospects this year because NBA teams increasingly trust overseas development systems more than college basketball. That matters because the middle of this draft could produce multiple All-Stars. And contenders know it. That is why teams like Denver and Miami are aggressively trying to move into the late lottery. They trust their scouting departments. Miami especially always thinks they can find hidden gems. Pat Riley probably already has 3 prospects circled that nobody else values enough. The Heat are dangerous because they never panic publicly. Even when things look bad, They always believe they can rebuild on the fly. One smart draft pick, one star trade, one undrafted player suddenly exploding, and they are back in the conference final somehow. It happens every few years like clockwork. Meanwhile, Phoenix is trapped. No flexibility. Aging stars. No depth. Limited assets. They pushed all their chips in and now the bill is coming due. And if this season ends badly again, people are going to start asking difficult questions about Devin Booker's future there too. That is the thing about the NBA now. Timelines move fast. Faster than ever. A team can look set for 5 years and collapse in one season. A rebuilding franchise can become relevant overnight with lottery luck. Front offices have almost no margin for error anymore because player movement is constant and expectations are insane. Just look at Dallas. A year ago people thought the Mavericks had stability. Then the Anthony Davis situation explodes, chaos everywhere, and somehow they still land the #1 pick afterward. That is why fans believe conspiracy theories. The coincidences are ridiculous. Every time Anthony Davis gets moved, lottery magic seems to follow somebody. And now imagine if the Wizards truly become good. The Eastern Conference suddenly changes completely. Boston uncertain. Milwaukee uncertain. Philadelphia always injured. Miami aging. Indiana collapsing after Halliburton's injury. Orlando still young. Cleveland good but not dominant. The East could open up faster than anybody expected. Washington seized that opportunity. That is why they pushed so aggressively for veterans. They do not want another 5-year rebuild. They want relevance immediately. Trae Young gives them offense. Anthony Davis gives them defense. AJ Dybantsa would give them a future superstar wing. Suddenly there is an actual identity there. And if AJ becomes what scouts think he can become, the Wizards may have pulled off the greatest rebuild recovery in modern NBA history. But there is still one team I cannot stop thinking about, Indiana. Because their situation is heartbreaking. They were in the finals conversation. Halliburton looked like a superstar. Their offense was electric. The future looked bright. Then one injury changed everything. That is how brutal this league is. One Achilles tear and suddenly the entire organization panics into a rebuild move that may haunt them for years. Now all the pressure falls on Ivica Zubac. And to be clear, Zu is a really good player. He rebounds. Protects the rim. Finishes efficiently. But trading a premium pick in this class for him looks terrifying now. Especially when the Clippers walked away with so much value. Indiana fans are going to spend years tracking whoever gets drafted at number 5. Every highlight will hurt. Especially if that player becomes a superstar. Imagine if the Clippers draft somebody like Jalen Harrow and he becomes a 25-point-per-game scorer while Indiana stays mediocre. Pacers fans would never forgive that front office. That is why GMs lose sleep over these decisions. One trade can define your legacy forever. And honestly, this draft might define the next decade of basketball. The 2003 draft changed the league. The 1984 draft changed the league. The 1996 draft changed the league. Front offices around the NBA believe this class has that kind of depth. Maybe not because of one all-time legend like LeBron, but because there are potentially 8 or 9 franchise-changing players here. That is absurd. And it means Summer League this year is going to feel like a national event. Every possession from these rookies will get clipped online instantly. One crossover and fans will declare someone the next Kobe. One bad shooting game and people will scream bust.